Imagine owing tens of thousands of dollars, credit cards maxed out, loans piling up, bills stacking faster than you can pay them. Now imagine paying it all off, without getting a higher paying job, without winning the lottery, without some sudden miracle. It sounds impossible. And yet, every single year, some families quietly do exactly that. Not because they earn more, but because they think differently. Today, we're going to explore the story of one family that escaped crushing debt using psychology, habits, and smart financial decisions, and what they changed might surprise you. Most debt advice focuses on earning more money or making big, dramatic financial moves. Get a promotion, start a side hustle, consolidate everything at once. But the truth is, escaping debt is rarely about a sudden breakthrough. It's about behavior, because income helps, but habits decide the outcome. Small, consistent decisions, repeated daily, often matter more than one big strategy. And sometimes, those decisions are uncomfortable. Saying no, waiting, choosing long-term relief over short-term comfort. This is a story about practical change, mindset shifts, and deliberate habits that ordinary people use to escape debt without earning more. Meet the Miller family, a couple in their early 40s. 2 kids, a normal suburban life. 5 years ago, they were deeply in debt. Credit card balances that never seemed to shrink, student loans still lingering. A car loan with years left on it. Every month felt tight. Not because they were reckless, not because they were irresponsible, but because the numbers simply didn't work in their favor. Their combined income was stable, about $85,000 a year, enough to live, not enough to feel ahead. There was no sudden raise coming, no inheritance, no lottery ticket waiting to save them. If things were going to change, it had to come from within their control. From how they spent, how they planned, how they behaved. At first, it felt overwhelming. Every bill felt like a mountain. Every statement felt discouraging. They avoided looking at totals. They delayed opening emails from the bank, because facing the numbers meant facing reality. But something shifted. Instead of searching for a big solution, they focused on small adjustments. One decision at a time, 1 month at a time. And slowly, they began building a system, not a perfect one, but one consistent enough to change their trajectory. And over time, that system changed everything. So how did they finally escape? Not with a miracle, not with more income, but with psychological shifts. First came behavioral awareness. They tracked every single dollar, every swipe, every automatic payment, every small convenience purchase. At first, it was uncomfortable. Seeing the numbers in black and white forced them to confront reality, but awareness did something powerful. It replaced guessing with clarity, and clarity reduces fear. Next came mental reframing. They stopped seeing debt payments as punishment. Instead, they viewed them as investments in freedom. Every extra payment wasn't money lost. It was stress reduced, options gained, control restored. That shift alone changed their emotional response. Then they practiced delayed gratification. Not forever, just long enough to interrupt impulse. Instead of buying immediately, they waited. Sometimes a week, sometimes a month, and most of the time, the urge faded. They realized something surprising. Desire is temporary, debt is not. Finally, they leveraged the psychology of small wins. Instead of attacking everything at once, they focused on one small debt. And when they paid it off completely, something changed. Momentum. Confidence replaced overwhelm. Progress replaced paralysis. Each small victory made the next one feel possible. And over time, behavior started working for them instead of against them. That's how they escaped, not through drastic sacrifice, but through rewiring how they thought about money. Notice something important here. The Millers didn't win the lottery. They didn't get a massive promotion. They didn't discover a secret investment strategy. They changed how they thought about money. That shift alone altered their daily behavior, and daily behavior shapes financial outcomes far more than we like to admit. Because debt rarely grows from one catastrophic decision. It grows from invisible routines, unchecked subscriptions, impulse purchases justified as small, minimum payments that feel safe but silently extend the problem. Now pause for a second. If you tracked every dollar you spent this week, would anything surprise you? Are there habits that feel harmless but quietly drain your progress? Financial freedom isn't always about dramatic sacrifice. Often, it's about awareness, intention, and small corrections repeated consistently. And sometimes, the most powerful question isn't, how can I earn more? It's, what small behavior can I change today? One year, the Millers made a decision that changed their trajectory. They committed to the Snowball method of debt repayment. Instead of attacking the debt with the highest interest rate first, they focused on the smallest balances. On paper, it wasn't the mathematically perfect strategy, but psychologically, it was powerful. They paid off one small credit card, then another. Each zero balance wasn't just a financial win, it was emotional relief. For the first time in years, they felt progress. That progress mattered. Because motivation grows when you can see movement. And debt often feels overwhelming because progress feels invisible. Alongside this, they tightened their systems, not through extreme deprivation, but through intentional adjustments. They canceled subscriptions they hadn't used in months. They called service providers and negotiated lower rates. They planned groceries instead of impulse buying. They created simple spending categories so money had a purpose before it was spent. Importantly, they didn't eliminate all enjoyment. They allowed modest entertainment and small treats, but consciously. Nothing was automatic anymore. That balance kept them consistent. And consistency is what changed everything. Over 5 years, without a salary increase, they moved from thousands in debt to completely debt-free. No dramatic windfall. No viral side hustle. No miracle. Just structured behavior, psychological momentum, and deliberate habits repeated month after month. The transformation wasn't sudden, it was steady. And that's what made it sustainable. Escaping debt is rarely about how much you make, it's about what you repeatedly do. Income sets the ceiling, habits determine the outcome. The Millers didn't change their salary, they changed their patterns. They replaced autopilot spending with intentional tracking. They replaced minimum payments with strategic prioritization. They replaced impulse with pause. And those small decisions, almost boring in isolation, began to compound. Just like compound interest can grow wealth quietly over time, repeated financial discipline compounds into freedom. One tracked expense becomes awareness. One extra payment becomes momentum. One delayed purchase becomes self-control. Over weeks, that builds clarity. Over months, that builds progress. Over years, that builds transformation. The powerful truth is this: you don't need a dramatic financial breakthrough. You need small, consistent behavioral shifts that stack in your favor. Because in personal finance, habits are the real interest rate on your future. The Millers' story reminds us of something powerful. Financial freedom doesn't always begin with a raise. It begins with responsibility. It begins with awareness, with honesty, with small decisions that align with long-term goals instead of short-term comfort. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They didn't wait until they earned more. They started with what they had. And over time, discipline replaced stress. Clarity replaced confusion. Momentum replaced fear. So now the question shifts to you. What is one small habit you could start today? Tracking every expense for a week. Canceling one unused subscription. Paying a little extra toward one debt. Waiting 48 hours before your next non-essential purchase. Drop it in the comments. Let's turn this into a conversation about practical, realistic steps families can take to escape debt, not through miracles, but through mindset and action. Because change doesn't start someday, it starts with one deliberate decision.